Hi everyone, it's Danny. I'm here today with a video that's a little bit different. Over the International Scrapbooking Day weekend over at Coco Vanilla Studio, we set up a special group for everyone to come join, and we had a lot of fun and games and prizes and whatnot. But we also had this page kit, which Zoe created for us. It was a free printable. It's still in the group if you want to go and join. I'll leave the link in the description box. But basically, we created this layout with in a class with Zoe. So she gave us the printable, she hosted a class, and we made pretty close to this layout. So this is my take on it, of course, but it's pretty close to her original. And you can see like there's lots of beautiful machine stitching, lots of pretty ephemera and paper, and yeah, it was just so generous of her to provide this free kit. So I thought I would go ahead and make another layout a little bit different, my own take on it. And I'm actually going to be using a sketch that was created by Anna for the International Scrapbooking Weekend. So I'm going ahead and trimming all this out. There are 4 A4 sheets of this kit, and you get 2 sheets of all these paper strips. You get 1 page with these photo mats and that large title there, and then you get a page full of ephemera and these 2 doilies. So I'm just going to pop all this off to the side for now. And the sketch I'm going to be using is this one, designed by Anna Comenda, and it's all these beautiful big hearts and florals and whatnot. So I've gone ahead in my Silhouette Studio program, and on this sheet of plain white cardstock, I have cut out this large heart that is sort of hanging off the page, echoing that sketch. And I've also, on a separate sheet of white cardstock, cut out 2 slightly smaller hearts. So one smaller and then one smaller again. And these are going to be my templates. Now I'm going to keep that inside piece for another layout, but for now I'm just taking a piece of, this is just plain paper, just to lay behind and sort of layer my strips over. So I'm going to do kind of fringed strips, and I want this heart to be kind of recessed, and then the other heart I do will be lifted up off the page. So you'll see a bit more what I mean as I get making it. It's kind of hard to vocalize what I mean, but this really didn't take me long at all. This kit's really easy to, quick and easy to fussy cut out with scissors. You could even do a trace in your Silhouette program or your Cricut program if you wanted to, I suppose. I just didn't see the need. It was pretty quick for me to do it by hand. So what I'm doing now is just taking a piece of spare paper where I've traced that heart out on. I'm laying all the strips out, making sure they fit, and then I'm using my scissors just to cut a fringe. And I'm not being precise with this. I am not cutting it too finely. They're about, I'd say 4 or 5 mil apart, so about 1/4 of an inch apart. Sorry, my camera is out of focus, so we'll come back in a second. But I'm just really quickly just snip, snip, snip. I'm not taking my time about doing this at all. It's really not something you need to fuss around with making perfect. No one is going to spend that long looking at this one layout that they'll notice any not perfectly evenly spaced fringes, I promise you. If you have fringing scissors, that would be ideal. It definitely makes it go faster. I don't have any. I probably will never get any because it's just a specialty item that I will not use that often. So here you go. That's all finished. And you can see it's not a perfect heart shape, but that top piece of cardstock will go on top. So you won't even see that it's not perfect. So I'm just going ahead and trimming off all the edges. I did use wet glue for this, for gluing them down. And you can see as I glued them down, I just overlapped them slightly. So the top part of the fringe, the uncut part, is hidden, and that's what it will look like. So I'm going to do the same thing with this heart, but I am going to glue the fringes on the top of this piece, and then that will sit up on top of the photos. Just gives an extra couple of layers. I'm using one of the photo matting pieces, this wood grain, to create a few more strips, just for an extra detail. I knew I was only going to use one photo on this layout, so I wouldn't need both of those wood grain photo mats. And just adds a little bit of variation. So I'm going to show you this whole thing. I've just sped it up really quickly. Really didn't take me long at all. I had a movie on my laptop. You can see my mouse in the top left corner there, but I just popped a movie on and relaxed and watched that while I trim this out, and yeah, really didn't take long at all. So here we go, I'll show you again how we glue. So just a strip of glue along the top, start from the bottom, work your way up and just overlap them just slightly, and make sure that your strip goes all the way to the edge of the piece that you're using so you don't have any sort of white gaps. Also at the top here, make sure you put glue all the way around the edge, because once you trim off, if you just glue the top, all the side pieces will just kind of fall off. So make sure you do a line of glue sort of all the way around the edge, not just at the top. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm coming in with my awl and my paper piercing little piercing mat, and I'm just going ahead and poking some stitching holes all the way around the outside of this heart. I am going to do some hand stitching. I know, again, I've been doing it a lot. I really like it. I just, yeah, what can I say? So I'm just using, as usual, all 6 strands of a white embroidery thread, and I'm going to do a chain stitch. This part is sped up quite quickly, but I will zoom in just a minute and show you a bit close up, a bit of a close up, if I can speak tonight. Sorry, this is like my 4th voiceover in a row, so I'm running out of steam, but we'll get there. So I'm just making sure to, that for my first few stitches, I lay my tail down and I stitch over the top of the tail from the back, just to secure it down and make sure it's not going to hang out anywhere. Okay, so here we go, zoomed in, and this is normal regular speed, and I'm stitching quite a bit slower than I normally would just to show you. But for a chain stitch, you want to you start with just one single stitch, like a normal back stitch. Then you come up from the next hole down, slide your needle behind both the loops of the top stitch, and then back down through that same hole. So I'll do this a few times so you can see. It's kind of hard to see because it's white cardstock and white stitching, but again, just up through the next hole, pull tight, slide your needle underneath both the loops of the stitch above, again pull tight, and then back down through that first hole. And you just keep doing that until you run out of thread. And if you do run out of thread, you can just start again. So you do have to start with just the single loop. It doesn't give you the chain, so with that first stitch you just have like a plain back stitch. I can't say you ever really notice. If it really bothers you, you can do a second straight stitch right next to the first, so it kind of looks like a chain stitch. Or you can do the other method of chain stitching, which is to put your needle up through the hole and then back down through the hole, leave a loop, and put your needle through the loop. It's a little bit, I find it a little bit trickier, but you don't end up with any single stitches that way. So I'm just adding a bit of glue on top of the stitching at the back, and then gluing right down on top of my fringed section. And then I'm just making sure all my edges, like I said, all those edges need to be glued down, because when you trim it, any unglued pieces will just fall off. So I'm just going ahead now and trimming off all the way around. I find it easier if you just flip it over and do it from the back. You get a perfect edge. There we go. All right, so here's my photo. It's my little Violet, my sweet girl. She'd just woken up from a nap, and I was playing peekaboo with her from around the door frame, and she has her comforter in her hand, and she was just laughing her little head off. She's just so happy and joyful in this photo. I just love it. It's such an everyday moment, but it's just so sweet. So I'm just popping down a white photo mat. I do this pretty much every layout. Almost every layout. I just like a nice clean white border around my photo. Alright, and then I'm taking the photo mats that came with the kit. So everything that I use today is either in the kit or is just plain white cardstock, or like in the case of the thread, is just plain white embroidery thread you can get anywhere, and that is an optional extra. You don't have to do that stitching by any means. You could even use a pen and do like a faux machine stitch, or you can machine stitch. There's that option as well. Okay, so this heart, I'm just going to use the plain white cardstock, and I'm just using a pink felt tip pen, and just drawing a scribbly, sketchy border around the outside, just so it stands out from the background. You could use a pattern paper for this. I just didn't want to. So I'm just gluing everything down now. I know my photo is going to go there, so I am just layering that doily behind to help kind of separate it from that heart. Just popping a bit of foam back there because the stitching is quite dimensional, so anything you pop on top of that hand stitching will lift up quite a bit off the page. So trimming off the excess, there we go. I did toy with using this, I was going to put life at home, but I decided to just take off the life and just use the home part of the title. So one of my offcuts I have used for the fringing, I had a bit left, so I just used that to make a whole reinforcer for the little tag that came in the kit. And I'm just putting a little bit of twine through there. And now I'm going through all my little embellishments, and I think I pretty much placed these where they are in the sketch, or pretty close to anyway. So I'm just tucking a few florals in at the top of that hand-stitched heart. A couple just in above my title there, and then some in the top of that other heart there. So some I'm popping behind and some I'm popping on top. I'm creating a few different height layers, different variation in height. I know what I'm trying to say. I'll get there. Little tag, a couple of little butterflies, and then these little, I love these little leaves, they're so pretty. So they just tuck in really nicely and fill in those little empty spots. I was determined to get every floral on there, and I did. So these little love hearts are just the perfect little sprinkly extra. And then these are the good times little banner. Just tucks in there at the bottom. So it's just a very everyday moment. So yeah, I don't think I even do any journaling on this layout. I may go back later and do some journaling, but I didn't really, there's not any big story to tell. It's just a very everyday moment. All right, just some splatters. Again, this is optional. You can even do this with felt tip pen, just do some little dots, or just leave it plain, but I like to add gold splatters to pretty much everything. So that's it, that's everything. I really hope you enjoyed this take on the page kit and on the sketch. Please check out the group, because even though the weekend is over and the challenges are wrapping up, you can still have a go at doing them yourself just for fun. So here come the close-ups, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.